Okay, we're talking about intercepts of a graph, and I've got some drawn up here. Let's take a look at them. Okay, so right, this is the x-axis, the y-axis. Okay, this graph right here, its intercept crosses right here on the y-axis. So it has an intercept on the y-axis, but it does not cross the x-axis. So it doesn't have any x-intercepts, but it has one y-intercept, and it's right here. Alright, let's look at this graph here. I've got two lines drawn. Let's look at the purple looking line. So the y-intercept, this is where the graph crosses the y-axis. And as you can see right here, it crosses right here. And it's going to be crossing the x-axis right here. So it has one y-intercept and one x-intercept. Now let's look at the green line. Well, the green line is quite interesting. Its y-intercept happens to be the origin here, and the x-intercept is also the origin. If I had to write this out as an ordered pair, if we were looking for the x-intercept point and the y-intercept point in this graph here, well, it doesn't have any x-intercept points. So I'm going to label intercept just int here. So we would say no x-intercept, but the y-intercept now, I'm just going to call this number right here. The y value, we'll just label it as a. How's that? So it has a y-intercept, yes, and it's going to be 0, a, right? Because your x value is 0 anywhere along the y-axis. Any point on the y-axis, your x is going to be 0, and then we're just saying that this y value here on the x-axis is a. Okay, let's look at some examples. So we're going to find some y-intercepts and some x-intercepts, and let's look at this one here. So I'll just call this example 1. So we're given this equation, y is equal to negative 3x plus 4. Now this is what we need to do to find the y-intercept. We'll start with that. The y-intercept, and of course I'm just shorthanding it by int, here's intercept. So what you want to do here is plug 0 in for x. So y, and this is the easiest one to be dealing with. So therefore y must equal 0. So our y-intercept is going to end up being 0, comma, and it's not 0, but it's 4, right? Okay. 0, 4. So the graph crosses at 0, 4. Now, what about the x-intercept? Well, usually this takes a little bit more work. This is where, remember on the graph, this is where the graph crosses the x-axis and y is 0. So what we're going to do is let y be 0, and then we're going to solve for x in this problem. So we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. I just like to say take that over to that side and make it the opposite sign. And then divide both sides by negative 3. So this ordered pair here is going to end up being, right, that's just going to be 4/3. So 4/3 and then 0. So our y-intercept is 0, 4, and our x-intercept is 4/3, 0. Let's look at another example. Let's say we have y is equal to x cubed minus 16x. And let's find the y-intercept. Remember, we just plug 0 in for x, therefore y is equal to 0, and so our ordered pair is going to be 0, 0. So this graph is crossing at the origin. Now to find the x-intercept, we're going to have to do a little bit more work. So remember, we're going to set the whole thing equal to 0, and then solve for x. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to factor an x out. Right, still setting it equal to 0. And then once we do this, we want to set each factor equal to 0. So that one's done, right? X is equal to 0, and then we're going to set x squared minus 16, set that equal to 0. And I'm going to take this 16 over, and then we can square root both sides. Remember, we must make this plus or minus when we square root, and the square root of 16 is 4. So we have two x values, plus 4 and minus 4. So I'll just go ahead and write this here. Our x-intercepts are 4, 0 and negative 4, 0. And about left the other one off, didn't I? 0, 0. Where it crosses through the origin. Now, really the reason we're going over this is it helps when sketching your graph out to first start with finding the x and the y-intercepts, and you're going to be doing a lot of this in calculus, and that's sketching graphs. And the first things that you want to do to find the behavior of this graph is you want to find its x-intercepts and then its y-intercepts. And further on into calculus, you're going to be finding some other things.